पतन्ति पितरो हि येषां लुप्तपिण्डोदका क्रिया Sankara, such unwanted children. Narka, Narkaya, make the hellish life. Eva, children. Kula Gnanam, for those who are killers of the family. Kulasya, for the family. Cha, also. Patanti, fall down. Pitraha, forefathers. He, certainly. Esham, all of them. Lupta, stopped. Pinda, of offerings of food. Udaka, and water. Kriya, performances. Translation purport by His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada ki. An increase of unwanted population certainly causes hellish life both for the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. The ancestors of such corrupt families fall down because the performances for offering them food and water are entirely stopped. I'll repeat. An increase of unwanted population certainly causes hellish life both for the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. The ancestors of such corrupt families fall down because the performances for offering them food and water are entirely stopped. According to the rules and regulations of fruitive activities, there is a need to offer periodical food and water to the forefathers of the family. This offering is performed by worship of Vishnu because eating the remnants of food offered to Vishnu can deliver one from all kinds of sinful reactions. Sometimes the forefathers may be suffering from various types of sinful reactions, and sometimes some of them cannot even acquire a gross material body and are forced to remain in subtle bodies as ghosts. Thus, when remnants of prasadam food are offered to forefathers by descendants, the forefathers are released from ghostly or other kinds of miserable life. Such help rendered to forefathers is a family tradition, and those who are not in devotional life are required to perform such rituals. One who is engaged in devotional life is not required to perform such actions. Simply by performing devotional service, one can deliver hundreds and thousands of forefathers from all kinds of misery. It is stated in Bhagavatam, Devarishi Bhutapta Nrinam Pitranam Na Kinkaro Nayam Rinicha Rajam Sarvatmana Yaha Sharanam Sharanyam Gato Mukundam Parihatyaka. Anyone who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, the giver of liberation, giving up all kinds of obligation, and has taken to the path in all seriousness, owes neither duties nor obligations to the demigods, sages, general living entities, family members, humankind, or forefathers. Such obligations are automatically fulfilled by performance of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of God. Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Kindly switch on your videos. Start discussion. So, it's a very interesting section. A lot of people, when they think about or hear about ghosts, shraddhas, they think all of this is orthodox, old traditions. And we are modern people. You're not supposed to follow all this. How many of you have belief in ghosts? Or even if you have any experience with the ghost? Anyway, how many of
Hare
you
Krishna.
believe in the existence of ghosts? Raise your hand. Many are confused to raise hand or not to raise hand. How many of you believe in the existence of ghosts? Bhoot Pret. Okay, only 1 to 2 raise. So, so it is mentioned in this section that Arjuna is worried. This is the fourth reason why he doesn't want to fight this battle. We discussed in the previous class that his worry is if all the elders of the family die in this battlefield, who will give samskaras to children? Who will teach them Kula Dharma, traditions of the family? When a child is born till his death, there are 48 purificatory samskaras which everybody is supposed to go through. 48 samskaras, out of which 10 are very important. Like when even before child is born, Garbh Dharan samskara is done. Nowadays it's not done. Earlier in Vedic Sabhyata or it used to be done. Olden times used to be done. Every lady before she bears a child, she'll go through Garbh Dharan. And it's not only wife, husband also goes through this process. Garbh Dharan samskara. Then you have so many Vivah samskar, you have Jati samskar, you have Annaprashan samskara, Antyeshti, Dantim, what do you call Day samskar, Da samskar. So all these processes are for the purification of the soul and gradual upliftment in spiritual life. Like I discussed in the previous class, Garbh Dharan Samskara is to invite a pious soul in the womb. The purpose of Garbh Dharan Samskara is husband and wife go through some austerity. Why they go through austerity? So that a pious, noble, kind, devotee soul enters the womb of the mother. And hence some price to be paid, some austerity to be done. Like this, different other samskaras. But nowadays, people have forgotten about this completely. So Arjuna is worried they will not be taught about the samskaras, and gradually religion will turn into irreligion. With rise in irreligion, women of the society will get polluted. They'll be exploited in the society, which is happening currently in the modern age, so-called modern age. And then with contaminated, women society, unwanted children, progeny will take birth. And then they will not know about the samskaras, about shraddha, about different aspects of spiritual life. So you can relate it with the current modern age. All of this is not happening practically. So this is Arjuna's worry. Arjuna, Prabhupada is writing in the purport that many times our forefathers, because of simple reactions, whatever sins they have committed, they do not get gross body. So there are two types of bodies over and above soul. One is called subtle body. Subtle body means mind, intelligence, and false ego. Man, buddhi, ahankar. They form subtle body, not visible, like software. Means Mata you can relate with. The hardware is software. The software part of the body is called subtle body. It's mind, intelligence, and false ego. And the hardware part of the body is the body which is visible from outside, is called gross body, which is made up of Panch Mahabhut, air, water, fire, earth, ether, and all that. So when soul is very sinful for some reason, then immediately they don't get subtle gross body. Sharir nahi milta hai. There's always a life after life. Everybody has to take rebirth based on one's karmas. But if karmas are very sinful, one doesn't get body immediately. So that soul has to suffer in the form of a ghost. Yani ki soul plus mind plus intelligence plus ego. And all the desires lie where? In the mind. Mind is a repository of all the desires, like a hard disk. Okay. So mind has all the desires, but there is no body to fulfill. That is called ghost. Okay. Mind has all the desires, but there is no body to fulfill the desires. So they need some body to fulfill those desires. So they enter into somebody else's body. इसको भूत लग गया है, ऐसे बोलते हैं ना, इसको भूत लग गया है. इसको भूत लग गया मतलब क्या? उसके अंदर भूत चला गया है. क्या करने के लिए? To fulfill his desires through his body. Now, to release such suffering souls from sinful reactions, every son in the family is supposed to do shraddha. Shraddh करना पड़ता है. पिंडोदका, पिंड उदक, तर्पण करना पड़ता है, दान देना पड़ता है. श्राद्ध का टेक्निकली एक्चुअल मीनिंग क्या होता है कि यू ऑफर प्रसादम, यानी कि समथिंग विच इज ऑफर्ड टू कृष्णा और विष्णु, देन यू ऑफर इट टू योर forefathers. When they eat prasadam offered to Krishna, they become free of those sinful reactions. And then they get some gross body, or they go to some higher planets. So this Shraddha is a very, very important activity performed by every son. But due to modern age, we have completely forgotten the need for conducting such rituals or such ceremonies. Even Lord Chaitanya performed Shraddha ceremony for his forefathers. And Prabhupada has written in the purport that one who is performing devotional service, he is not supposed, he doesn't require to perform such ceremonies. But this is for a devotee who has gone to a certain level of maturity, certain level of perfection, certain level of purity. Not that we have started chanting today and now we don't need to perform shastra. No, that's not like that. Yeah. Very pure, exalted souls, they don't need to perform such. Whose mind is completely absorbed in Krishna 24 hours a day, they don't need to perform. But we must perform these ceremonies without fail. Otherwise, we make our forefathers suffer. We become responsible for their suffering. And this is a very subtle science. कि हम यहाँ ऑफर करते हैं और वहां उनको मिल जाता है. We offer here. We normally call Brahmanas or Vishnus, isn't it? Sorry, Brahmanas or Vaishnavas. So Krishna eats through two ways. Vishnu consumes food offered in two ways. One is through Agni. When we say Swaha, Agni is the mouth of Vishnu. So it goes to Vishnu directly. through Agni Devta. Agni Devta takes it and delivers it to, like a courier boy, delivers it to Vishnu. So Agni is like a mouth of Vishnu. Similarly, mouth of Vaishnavas or Brahmana is like a mouth of Vishnu. When you call Brahmanas at your house and feed them prasadam, it goes to your forefathers. Yeah, so it is very subtle science which requires some level of faith. But we think we are modern people, we believe in science, we're logical people. All this is orthodox. No, this is not orthodox. Science, subtle science. Can somebody open chapter number 3 and read verse number 13? Chapter number 3 and verse number 13.
यज्ञशिष्टाशिनः सन्तो मुच्यन्ते किल्बिषहे भुज्यन्ते ते त्वंगम पापा ये पंचतन्या कारणात्.
Read the translation.
The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment barely eat on sin, only sin.
So, this is the importance of offering. Whatever you eat, first it should be offered to Krishna. Very, very important. And it is written, Krishna says, if we eat anything without offering, we are simply eating sin. What does it mean? How many of you cook in the kitchen? Please tell me. So almost everybody. Tell me what is involved, Shweta Mataji. Tell me what is the process involved in cooking? What all ingredients require, from where you take ingredients, and then how do you perform cooking?
प्रभु जी आपने एक सेशन में बताया था कि हम लोग वेजिटेबल वेंडर से अपन वेजिटेबल्स लाते हैं और फिर उस प्रोसीजर में कितने जो भी और फिर उसमें जो भी प्रोसीजर में बनाते हैं उसमें बनाने तक जो भी हमें छोटे मोटे कुछ भी जीव जंतु अगर मरते हैं तो उसका सिंफुल रिएक्शन से बचने के लिए वो हमें फूड नहीं बनाना है, वो हमें भोग बनाना है टू ऑफर कृष्णा. तो उसके सारे ऑफर करने के बाद हमें उसके जो रिएक्शंस हैं वो नहीं लगेंगे.
Yeah, very good. So when you bring ingredients from the market while walking, while driving, unknowingly we kill many living entities. Yes or no? देखिए, in this material world, every karma has equal and opposite reaction. Repeat after me. If you kill one living entity, then what is the opposite reaction? Meenakshi Mataji.
If we kill, we'll be also killed by someone, something like that.
If we kill somebody, he will kill me. It is as direct as that.
Yeah.
The living entity someday will kill me. Now just see, in one cooking operation, one meal cooking, just imagine how many living entities must be killing. Hundreds, thousands, millions. Just imagine. How many? Middle Mataji, any guess? Thousands, maybe lakhs. Because while driving, walking, cooking in fire, cutting, washing, every time, by breathing, also we kill. So if this food is not dovetailed with Krishna in the form of offering, all the karmic reactions we have to suffer. So if one is not offering as a bhoga to Krishna, then he is simply eating sin. This is what Shweta is read from 3rd chapter. So what happens when we offer food to Krishna? Krishna takes away all the karmic reactions from the food and leaves the food as it is without karmic reaction for us to honor. It becomes prasada. It is no more a normal food. It becomes prasad, sanctified, purified food. So everybody must offer. It is very purifying and it becomes very tasty. When it's offered, you can feel the difference. When you eat prasada. How many of you eaten prasadam in ISKCON temple? Tell me. Some of you. How does it taste? It doesn't have any onion, garlic. Simple. But it tastes wonderful. People go to Govinda to eat food without onion garlic. Why it becomes so delicious? They pay 500 rupees for a plate. Yeah. It is sanctified food, purified, very delicious. So there is no loss in terms of offering, only gain. But it has to be pure food, not with onion, without onion garlic. No tea, coffee like that. So we must practice eating pure food. We also become pure and we also make our families pure, their consciousness pure. So especially Matajis must be very careful about this aspect. So we should offer it. So this offered food or prasadam, in the process of Shraddha is offered to the forefathers. They eat this prasadam and become free of sinful reactions, free of ghostly life. They get, gross body immediately. Okay? Make sense? So next is 42. दोषे रेते कुलज्ञानम वर्ण संकर कारके उत्साधयन्ति जाति धर्म कुला धर्माश्च शाश्वतः. By the evil deeds of those who destroy the family tradition and thus give rise to unwanted children, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated. Community projects for the four orders of human society, combined with family welfare activities, as they are set forth by the institution of Sanatana Dharma or Varnashram Dharma, are designed to enable the human being to attain his ultimate salvation. Therefore, the breaking of Sanatana Dharma tradition by irresponsible leaders of society brings about chaos in that society. And consequently, people forget the aim of life, Vishnu. Such leaders are called blind, and persons who follow such leaders are sure to be led into chaos. Yeah. So when you have unwanted progeny, unwanted children who have no idea about sanskaras, about Sanatana Dharma, about Varnashram Dharma, what will happen? All the community projects which are aimed for spiritual upliftment society, they are stopped. Nobody cares about them. If you go to US, all the churches are getting closed. You know this? Churches are being taken by corporates. Why? People don't go. Same thing happening in many temples also in India. People don't go. So projects which are important for spiritual upliftment of the member society, they are stopped and there is no way. Nate vidu swart gatim hi Vishnu. Prahlad Maharaj says, what is the self-interest? Real self-interest of the soul is Krishna. So people in general do not even know what is good for them. What is the real self-interest? Have no idea. Why? We are going through the stage which Arjuna is talking here. He have forgotten the aim of life. The aim of life is now what? What is the aim of life now in the modern age? Gopal, Prabhuji, what is the aim of life? Sri Gopal, Prabhuji.
To make more money.
Make more money, yes. All right. So if you make more money by working hard without Krishna, it means what? Accumulation of sins. It's not accumulation of money alone. It's accumulation of sins. So Krishna has to become the center of our life so that everything we do becomes dovetailed, with the Supreme Lord. Making sense or no? Feeling scared? Huh? Can you hear me? Am I audible? Shweta Mataji? Okay. I don't see any reaction, so I get worried. Okay. So this is Arjuna's worry. I'll read next 2-3 verses also and then we'll stop. That will bring end of this chapter. 43. Usanna kula dharmana manushyana janardana narake nityam vaso bhavatiti anushushama. O Krishna, maintainer of people, I have heard by disciplic succession that those whose family traditions are destroyed dwell always in hell. This is what is Arjuna's worry. If these kind of traditions like Shraddha, ceremony and all, or samskaras are destroyed, he is saying, I have heard from disciplic succession. When he says, I have heard from disciplic succession means this is the right way of acquiring knowledge from a bona fide parampara, not from anyone and everyone. So he's saying, I have heard from disciplic succession that, those families, tradition destroyed, dwell always in hell. They go to hell. Forefathers are pulled down into hell. People who are not conducting Shraddha, they go to hell. And because there is no samskaras, all the children, when they will grow up, they also will head towards hellish planets. Arjuna bases argument not on his own personal existence, but on what he has heard from authorities. That is a way of receiving real knowledge. One cannot reach the real point of actual knowledge without being helped by the right person who is already established in that knowledge. There is a system in the Varnashram institution by which before death one has to undergo the process of atonement for his sinful activities. One who is always engaged in sinful activities must utilize the process of atonement called prayashchitta. Without doing so, one surely will be transferred to hellish planets to undergo miserable lives as a result of sinful reactions. So everything we do has a consequence. We must contemplate on this. Somebody who's stealing money, he's only thinking for some instant pleasure he will derive out of stolen money, correct? But he doesn't think about what is the consequence if he's caught. He'll be behind the bars for so many years for this act of small killing and stealing and some little sense enjoyment. The consequence is very grave. Yes or no? If he contemplates on this, he may stop this act of stealing. Similarly, we all must contemplate on this, that every action has a reaction. Any action we perform is being recorded in our accounts. and we'll be held accountable for everything we do. So Arjuna is worrying if traditions are stopped, everybody is performing sinful actions, the whole dynasty will head towards hellish planets. And people like us who are not doing what we're supposed to do, they become instrumental or they become responsible for such a condition. Isn't it? And Arjuna is highlighting from where we should hear. We should hear this kind of knowledge from a authorized, bona fide source. Disciplic succession means parampara, bona fide parampara. Okay? We should not hear from here and there. People who do not belong to any parampara or not authorized. Yeah. Verse number 44. Oho bata mahapapam kartum vevasita vayam yad rajaya sukha lobhena hamtum swajanam udayataha. Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts, driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness. We are intent on killing our own kinsmen. Driven by selfish motives, one may be inclined to such sinful acts as the killing of one's own brother, father, or mother. There are many such instances in the history of the world, but Arjuna, being a saintly devoted Lord, is always conscious of moral principles and therefore takes care to avoid such activities. So Arjuna doesn't want to get involved in such sinful activities. Why? Just for little enjoyment. Similarly, we should also contemplate on just for little enjoyment. We should not put our future into risk, our next birth into risk. For that, we must know, what is law of karma, what is akarma, what is vikarma. Yeah, and how will you know that? Only when you read Bhagavad Gita. So, in effect, people who take the pain of understanding the principles of Krishna consciousness through Bhagavad Gita, only they can escape from such sinful reactions. Others, because of ignorance, they cannot. Not possible. So we are very fortunate that somehow, with the mercy of some devotee, we got access to this wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. Yadi mam aprakrtikaram shastram shastrapaneya dhatrashtarane hanyus tanme kshemataram bhavet. Better for me, the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, custom according to just once. It is a custom, according to Kshatriya fighting principles, that an unarmed and unwilling foe should not be attacked. Arjuna, however, decided that even if attacked by an enemy in such an awkward position, he would not fight. He did not consider how much the other party was bent upon fighting. All the symptoms are due to soft-heartedness, resulting from his being a great devoted Lord. Arjuna is not trying to run away from this battlefield because of being scared or afraid, or out of cowardliness. He just wants to avoid such situation in future. That the whole dynasty is susceptible to go to hellish planets. That is his worry. And Prabhupada says that is reflecting his soft-heartedness, a saintly behavior. We should not consider Arjuna being cowardice or scared and trying to run away from the battlefield. No. Devotee can think like this. And the last verse of this chapter is Sanjaya Uvacha. Evam Mukta Arjuna Sankhe Rathopastha Upavishra Visrajya Sasharam Chapam Shoka Samvigna Manasa. Sanjaya said, Arjuna, having thus spoken in the battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrow and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief. While observing the situation of his enemy, Arjuna stood up on the chariot, but he was so afflicted with lamentation that he sat down again. Setting aside his bow and arrow, such a kind and soft-hearted person in devotional service of Lord is fit to receive self-knowledge. Thus, end of the Bhakti Vedanta purports, the first chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of observing armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Sanjay is reciting this last verse of this chapter, saying Arjuna finally lamented, sat down, left his bow and arrow, and said, I am not going to fight this battle. So Arjuna has given 4 reasons in this chapter. 5th reason will come in the beginning of next chapter. First reason was compassion. Second reason was loss of enjoyment. Third reason was fear of sinful reactions. And fourth reason we discussed is destruction of dynasty. Okay. Over to you for any questions if you have.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Sorry, I always come up with some weird questions because I keep thinking about what we discussed from how it's playing out in real life. So, 2 things that just was slightly crossing my head today in the discussion is one is you spoke about our forefathers, like till we not offer them prasadam, etc., till Shraddha not done properly, they don't get the salvation, right? They don't get the next gross body. So between their death and the next gross body, what happens to the soul?
It suffers, always hankering, trying to fulfill desires through this body, through that body. You suffering. Even sometimes people who commit suicide, they also go through this stage. No gross body immediately available. So they suffer. Just imagine if you have desire but no means to fulfill desire. प्यास लगी है, मुंह नहीं है पानी पीने को.
But is the desire of the soul is to have the next body, or the desire of the soul is to be with the Lord?
Sorry?
Is the desire of the soul to be in the next gross body, or the desire of the soul is to be with the Supreme Lord? What is the inherent?
So this transformation
tendency?
from material desires to spiritual desires happen with the process which is called devotional service. Why is soul suffering in the material world currently? Soul has a lot of material desires. ये भी चाहिए, वो भी चाहिए, हैं? All in the material world. So unless all the desires become null and void, zero, with only one desire to serve Krishna, soul cannot leave this material world, cannot enter into spiritual world. So like, you go to America, you have some requirements, visa requirements, correct? Without you can't enter America. Similarly, to enter spiritual world, there is some requirement. What is the requirement? You should have only one desire to serve Krishna, no other desires. So that becoming purified so that we have only one desire of serving Krishna takes time. Process, it goes through a process. So while soul's inherent desire to serve Krishna, but because of material contamination, soul has developed material desires, which needs to be purified. So all these processes like chanting the holy name, eating prasadam, reading Gita Bhagavatam, they are all purificatory processes, which gradually will destroy or diminish those material desires. And soul becomes qualified to enter spiritual world. Yeah?
Yes, Prabhuji. The second point, Prabhuji, I've always wondered about is karma is seen kind of this. It's made to sound like an accounting concept, that there is a count being kept somewhere. How many good things you did, how many bad things you did. at the end of your life, there will be a calculation that whether you did more good or whatever the net is positive or negative, and that will decide what next is going to happen. Is that the right way to think about it?
Yes, it is. It is, you can say, a kind of accounting process. But Krishna says, karmo gahana gati. But it is very complex. You cannot find out. One cannot understand this. So, if a certain situation has come into my life, why it has come? You cannot relate it. Sometimes you find somebody is healthy, nice person, doing all nice things. He has a heart attack and gone. Overnight. एक दिन के अंदर पता नहीं लगता उसका.
Exactly.
So how does one relate? He cannot, because we have karmic reactions of millions of lifetimes. So we cannot correlate. But we have to only accept it as a reaction of my own karma and be peaceful. We cannot find out how it happened. But Krishna will tell us how to avoid, what is the best way to perform karma in material. We'll talk about 3 types of karmas. We discuss in, I think, in the course also. Karma, akarma, vikarma. We'll discuss about this maybe very soon. Karma, vikarma, akarma. Karma koshalam. What is the real art of performing karma in material world? Krishna will teach in Bhagavad Gita. So that we don't have to get into these calculations, we can escape very easily. Very easily we can escape. Like we talked about prasadam today. If one is not offering, he is getting to severe karmic reactions. But simply by offering, he becomes free of all these karmic reactions. Simply by offering and honoring prasadam. Very simple exercise. It requires little bit of patience and tolerance. That's it. And faith, of course. Then one is free of whatever happened during cooking process. So like this, there are methods. So if you dovetail everything with Krishna, like bhoga, one is free of karmic reactions.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yes, Huma Mataji.
हरे कृष्णा. जैसे हमको सिंफुल डिजायर्स और सिंफुल एक्टिविटीज का फल मिलता है, तो सिंफुल थॉट्स का भी कुछ हमको पनिशमेंट मिलता है.
Yes. मनसा कर्मणा वाचा, मन से, कर्म से, वाणी से हमको कर्मिक रिएक्शन मिलता है. लेकिन कलयुग में एक छूट है, केवल कलयुग में, कि मन से जो पाप होते हैं उनका फल नहीं मिलता है, लेकिन मन से जो अच्छे काम होते हैं उनका फल मिलता है. ये बोनस है कलयुग में. If you do something good about somebody, think something good about somebody, through mind you get positive result. If you perform some wrong or have wrong thoughts about somebody, then till the time it comes out of your vani or action, it doesn't invite karmic reaction. लेकिन यदि लंबे समय तक मन में चलता रहेगा तो वाणी से निकलेगा पक्का, और एक्शन में भी आएगा ही आएगा. इसे मन में आने लगे तो वहीं पर उसको समाप्त करना चाहिए. You should not entertain such thoughts.
थैंक यू.
Else, yes, Shweta Mataji. Shweta,
प्रभु जी, मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि जो श्राद्ध का जो रिचुअल है जो हम परफॉर्म, if some couple hasn't male child, तो वो कैसे करेंगे, और अगर मेल चाइल्ड ही कैसे उनको लिबरेट कर सकते हैं और फीमेल नहीं कर सकती, तो क्यों नहीं कर सकती फीमेल चाइल्ड?
So as I mentioned, functionally, son or male and females are different. They are different functions. Female body, to some extent is considered contaminated because of, your menstrual cycle and all that.
Yes.
From purity angle, according to Shastra, it is male's body who can perform these kind of rituals. That is one. But Krishna has given the best alternative for everyone, whether male child or female child or no child. What is that? Surrender unto Krishna. Then all these things are not required. Right? So if one completely surrenders unto Krishna, then these things are not required. These are for people who want to stay in material world. And hence all the rules apply. People who want to go to spiritual world, there are no such rules. So there is no death, there is no ghost, there is no gross body. So such rules do not apply. Like I was talking, if you're driving on the road, traffic rules apply. If you're flying in the air, then traffic rules do not apply.
Yes, got it.
Right?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay. So if there's no question, we can wind up. Thank you very much, everyone. It's getting hotter day by day. Bombay must be better, I think, relatively. I was recalling my old days in Bombay. Today I'm in Vrindavan, so I'll pray for all of you. Shri Radha, Shyam Sundar, Krishpal Ram,
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Prabhupada. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. See you next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you.